This is part two, the continuation of the story. Sitting in jail, waiting again to go in front of a judge and have him decide my fate was very slow playing out. It took a month for me to get back to court in front of the same judge that had sentenced me. And he said that he believes that I didn't give the Boys Ranch a thorough enough try, and that he believed that I could still benefit from the program. So, surprising to me, I was resentenced to the Sacramento County Boys Ranch. Now, in my mind at the time, I thought, these stupid guys are going to send me back to the one place that I'm sure I can make it out of, or escape from. So, I was there in juvenile hall waiting to be sent back to the Boys Ranch, and sure enough, they sent me back. Well, this time when I got there, I was there for 4.5 hours. Just long enough, change my clothes, get something to eat, and escape again, which is exactly what I did. Well, this time, something I hadn't counted on changed the whole outcome of that day and repercussive actions or repercussion results because of actions committed on this day. It was December 15th of 1994. And when I was at the ranch before, it was like the 12th of November. And the difference between the 12th of November and the 15th of December was this. There's a small body of water that we didn't even consider it an obstacle. They called it Carson Creek. It was about this wide, and it was about thumbnail deep. We just stepped over it, and that was that. Well, come the middle of December, Carson Creek has gone from this babbling trickle into a torrent that was more like 15 feet across and 8 feet deep, with chunks of ice floating in it the size of microwaves and basketballs. Well, when I escaped the second time, 5 people escaped at the same time, but I didn't want to get caught up with anybody else, so everybody scattered and went their own way. Well, I followed the same directions that I'd used before to get back, so I figured, I was well on my way. But wanting to get as far away from the ranch as I possibly could, because I know that they would send people out looking for us, I began to run. And as I'm running out there in those farm fields, it's kind of hard to tell what's the ground and what's water, because you'll see, a whole field of grain, waving in the breeze, and it looks like a small lake. And because there only being moonlight out there, your eyes will play tricks on you. So the first time I escaped, we kind of looked like Polish mine detectors, using our foot to tell if it's water, or solid. Well, this time, being cocky and arrogant, I didn't foresee any or I didn't remember anything, remotely close to the ranch that would be a larger body of water or, rocky terrain that would make it uncautious to go running. So as I'm running, I completely and totally, fell victim to that moonlight and didn't see Carson Creek until I hit it at a full sprint. And when I hit Carson Creek, I went in, and I mean all the way up and over my head. Well, it was the middle of December, middle of the night, and I'm in water that has, like I said, chunks of ice floating in it, the size of like folding chairs. I managed to, while in shock, force my way across Carson Creek to get to the other side because I knew that I had to get to the other side regardless. I get to the other side and I crawl up out of the water. It's like 17 degrees, and I'm wearing a pair of blue jeans, some work boots, 2 t-shirts, 2 sweaters, and a denim jacket with sheep's wool on the inside, and just soaked all of that to the bone with the iciest of ice water on the coldest of cold nights in the most barren, inhospitable environment and situation that I could possibly have put myself in. My life was in danger. I was miles from anywhere, and my clothes were freezing to me. Like, I would go to move my arms and they would crunch. It would sound like breaking glass. I was painfully cold. I managed to strip off the jacket and one of the sweaters, but I kept the other one for just to cut out the wind because it was cold. I managed to run blindly towards the only lights that I could see, which were the headlights and taillights of the cars going up and down Jackson Highway. And I managed to make it to Jackson Highway just as hypothermia kicks in. I can't feel my hands. I've lost so much motor skill in my hands alone that I couldn't put my hands in my pockets if someone put a gun to my head and told me I had to. And the only thing that I'd done was I'd retracted my arms in the sweater so that I could keep as much of the surface area of the sweater off of my chest and my core, because I knew that my core temperature was really important. And every 5 to 50 seconds, a car would go by, and I standing out in the middle of Jackson Highway by Rancho Murrieta, waving my arms back and forth, please, please stop. I was trying to stop any car I possibly could. I knew that I only had minutes. If I didn't somehow find a way to warm up within the next 5 minutes, I would not have probably successfully, lived past that day. It was bad. Well, I'm trying to wave these cars down, and none of them stop. None. I'm walking down Jackson Highway, trying to keep from freezing to death, and no one stopping for me, being soaked. I knew that I was getting cold because I was involuntarily shaking so hard that it looked like I was being electrocuted. Well, I lucked out because what seemed like at my last, my last push to survive, I kept walking and kept walking, and I eventually found my way to a greenhouse. Now, they were growing alfalfa in this greenhouse, and this greenhouse was large, about the size of a high school basketball or gymnasium. And I managed to get inside this greenhouse. Now, it's not really, really super hot or warm in this greenhouse, but it is warmer than outside without the wind, and it's dry. Well, I know that the lamps that they use to grow these plants aren't just for the UV rays to make the plants grow, but they're also warm. And warm enough that I managed to rifle off, or muscle off the winter sweater I was still wearing and threw it over a heating lamp, one of these UV lamps, so that I could dry it out, so I didn't die. Well, I managed to find a book of matches inside this greenhouse, and was almost brought to tears by the fact that I was in stage 2 hypothermia and my motor skills were gone. I couldn't light a match to save my life, literally. Well, the owner of that greenhouse had seen me come in his greenhouse, and he came out and he confronted me. What are you doing here? And they gave him this BS story about my friend storing me in Carson Creek and leaving me out on the side of the road. Well, he sees that I'm drying my sweater on the heating lamp, and he starts talking to me, and he seems really nice. And he was like, you know what? I've got an extra one of those in the house. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. So he goes inside of his house, and he goes and retrieves this red sweater, and he brings it to me, and I put it on. And mind you, I still got a wet shirt on, but I put this red sweater on, and it was so warm and dry. And the guy keeps talking to me, and he's telling me about this alfalfa plant that he's growing, and he's being very very much the good Samaritan. And he asked me, "Are you thirsty?" And I was like, "Yes, but I need to get going." He goes, "Well, until your sweater dries, you're better off in here than out there." I was like, "Okay." So he goes to his house to get me a beverage, I guess, or a glass of water or something. And when I hear the door open again from the greenhouse, I turn and look, expecting to see him, and instead, standing in the silhouette of the doorway, is a Sacramento County Sheriff's officer in full tactical gear, part of the task force that was sent out to hunt us down, the 5 escapees, that is. Well, I was the last one they picked up, I find out later. And he asked me, did you escape from the boys' ranch? And I was like, yeah, there's no reason to lie. It's like, all right, come with me. And I was shaking so bad they couldn't even put handcuffs on me. So they put me in the back of the car, and they drove me to juvenile hall, where I had just left hours before. Again, a second time, failed escapee. Now, if I hadn't failed, I would have died. So, it was a bittersweet lesson to learn. But again, like I said, I find myself sitting in the Sacramento County Juvenile Hall,